Okay, these are our notes on density. Density is a measure of the mass of a material in a given volume. To calculate density, which we learned last chapter, is the mass in grams divided by volume. Okay, and volume could be milliliters or cubic centimeters. If we're dealing with a liquid, it would be milliliters, or if it's a solid, it's cubic centimeters. Then, when you calculate the answer, it's going to be your units will be the combined grams / centimeters cubed or milliliters cubed if you're using milliliters. Sorry, not milliliters cubed, just milliliters. Okay, so you can have either of these units on your answers. Okay, so let's do a practice problem here where we're calculating the density. We have an object whose volume is 5 centimeters cubed and the mass is 20 grams. So our equation, D equals mass divided by volume. So my mass was 20 grams and my volume was 5 centimeters cubed. To calculate the density, I'm going to take 20 divided by 5. Okay, and this is where that long division you've been learning in math comes into play. 5 goes into 20 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. Okay, and you always finish or keep working on a long division problem until you get to the 0. Okay, so now my answer, I don't have any more numbers to drop down. I've solved it. My answer then is 4. So the density is 4 grams per centimeters cubed. Okay, and I took these units from the original problem. I've got grams and I've got centimeters cubed. So that's why my units are what they are. All right. With density, it can be used to also predict if an item is going to sink or float. And how you use that is you're going to compare it to the liquid that you're floating it in. And in most cases, you're going to be floating it in water. The density of water is 1 gram per cubic centimeter. Okay? So any object that is greater, has a greater density, will sink. Any object that has a less density than water will float in the water. Okay, so I wanted to show you an example for calculating the density of an object and also deciding if it's going to sink or float in water. So the first one we're going to look at is the nylon block. Okay, here is our nylon block. We're going to find its mass. And to find its mass, we're going to need to use a scale. So here's our scale. I'm going to get my paper and vision there. I'm going to take the scale, or the nylon block, and place it on the scale. So we find that it's 18 grams. So I record that. And then I need to find the volume. How do I find the volume of a regular shaped object? Well, that goes back to chapter 1, where I'm going to find the length and the width and the height. Using centimeters. Okay, so I measure, lining it up, and it looks like 2.5 centimeters. Okay, so I'll record that. 2.5 centimeters, and that's only one part of it. I'm going to turn it. 2.5 centimeters, and if it's a perfect cube, like it should be, it'll be 2.5 centimeters on every measurement. And it is. Okay, so I've got 2.5 centimeters for my length. My width equals 2.5. My height equals 2.5. Alright, so now I've got to calculate. And remember, it's length times width times height when you're dealing with a regular shaped object. So, I'll type in my calculator. Can't see. 2.5. Let's turn it on. 2.5 times 2.5 times 2.5, and I get that my answer is 15.6. I'll round it to the tenths place here. Okay, so that's my volume. All right, now I've got to calculate my density. So I'm going to take, remember, the equation for density is mass divided by volume. So I'm going to take my mass, which was 18, divided by my volume, which was 15.6. Okay, pulling out my calculator again. 18 divided by 15.6 gives me 1.15 for my density. Grams per centimeter cubed. Okay? Then I'm going to calculate the poplar block. Okay, that's just a type of wood. Okay, I'll do the same thing, place it on the scale to find my mass. Okay, it's 11.7. Find my volume. It's a rectangular prism, so I will be able to measure 2.5 by 2.5 by 2.5. So it's going to have the same volume as the previous block, so 15.6 centimeters cubed. All right, now I just need to calculate my density. Again, that's mass divided by volume. So I'll be taking 11.7 and dividing it by 15.6. Okay, so it's 0.75 grams per centimeter cubed. All right, now the question is it going to sink or float based on the densities that we calculated? Let me get some water here. We can move our scale. Turn our screen a little bit. There we go. Okay, we calculated that the density of the nylon block was 1.15. So that is greater than the density of the water. Remember, water has a density of 1 gram per centimeter cubed. So that means that this should sink if we've calculated it correctly. And it did. The poplar block had a density of 0.75. That is less than 1. So when I place this one in the water, it should float because its density is less than the density of water. And it does. Okay, please make sure that you filled out the entire note page, and I'll go back to that so you can see it. And then show me when you have completed the notes. So I'm going to finish here.